Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar of SEAFDEC on the impact of COVID-19 to fisheries and aquaculture in Southeast Asia. Welcome and thank you very much for all of our speakers for today. We have totally 6 persons. I will later on introduce you to the audience. I would like to inform all what we have done so far. Yesterday, we have the issues that presented by international regional organizations focusing on the impact of COVID-19 for the view from the perspective international, regional, and some of the research conducted by the fishery regional and international organizations. We have FAO Rome, we have InfoFish, and we have World Fish Center representative to share with us the updated information on the impact of the COVID-19 at international and regional level. And we have almost 200 participants attended our webinar yesterday. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we have very interesting, I'm sure we will entertain you a bit more. Focus on if you look on the right hand of the slide showing now, we have number of representatives from the private sector, I can say champion of exporters of fisheries, fish and fishery products from our Southeast Asian region. We will hear from them the impact of the national lockdown on capture fisheries as well as the aquaculture. And later on, by the late afternoon today, we have a special speaker from SEAFDEC Training Department and Department of Fisheries on the impact of the pandemic on the national MCS program. I will elaborate and introduce you more later. Yesterday, we have already recorded the video. You can visit our YouTube video clip of the webinar yesterday conducted in the afternoon with those FAO, InfoFish, and World Fish Center representatives. And these are the highlights made by the representative, Mr. Marcio, yesterday on his presentation on the impact. We heard that over 1,000 species of fish are traded internationally, and most the commodity exporting from many places to China, and what the major importing countries are salmon, shrimps, tuna, cods, and squid, and others. And many of us recognizing the importance of the value and volume is important for developing countries as well as to our Southeast Asian region, and noting the major exporting countries from the region, it includes Vietnam and Thailand. When the pandemic occurred, we have found the difficulties by FAO to have the forward looking to predict the situation in the future, because they have the variation of the countries in order to cope with the situation. We have to look at that later on. And the effects from the COVID is not only the people in general, but also impact to the fishery and aquaculture sector in terms of processing, markets, and also with on the fisheries governance. The result impact very mainly on the price, and we found he presented the price of some species of aquatic species are decreasing during the COVID pandemic. And he also highlighted the impact on the capture fisheries and aquaculture, mainly on the changing of demand supply and restriction of the people and services everywhere, closure of the ports and services in many places and around the world. These are the cause and impact to the capture fisheries, where aquaculture, we have found the number of cases on the trying the the operator trying to maintain the cost where why they have the difficulties in selling the goods and products. They have to spend much more money on feeding the animals and restriction of the movements of the people. And he stated also the possible immediate effects on the value and volume of the fish and fish products at domestic and the local markets. And we found the new shopping habits of the people around the world, where fish loss and waste are increasing, and increasing of digitalization of the use of technology in terms of direct sale of the products. And of course, we have found a new rearrangement of the companies everywhere. And Mr. Api, he presented on behalf of InfoFish, he highlighted some issues where almost similar to we found based on the presentation made by FAO, the decline or decreasing of the price of the seafood found also in Southeast Asia, and habits of the consumer and the food value chains also has changed, and we have a number of disruptions to the trade and seafood products from Asia to other importing countries. And also our last speaker yesterday put some thoughts for our webinar yesterday, and he based on most likely the research done by the World Fish Center in many places in countries in Asia and Pacific. So for today, we have come up with the number of speakers for you. The impact from the national lockdown on seafood supply chain and mitigation of impact. You can see a number of the private sectors are invited today. We have Thai Union, which I can say very big company in the seafood products and marketing. We have the Andaman Surimi, also I think biggest exporter of surimi products from ASEAN region. And we have the representative from the Pack Food and Thai Frozen Food Association. Later on, I give you more background of each presenter. And we also have, we're pleased to have Madame Lan from the VASEP, the Vietnamese Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers, to join us this afternoon. And lastly, as I told you, we have a special guest from the Department of Fisheries, Thailand, Mr. Bundit, will tell us the difficulties in monitor, control, and surveillance of the fishing activity at sea in case of Thailand. And we have special guest from SEAFDEC Training Department, Mr. Isara. He is a researcher of the Training Department of SEAFDEC in Thailand. He will tell us some of the research finding based on the small-scale fishing communities in Thailand. On the impact of COVID-19. Okay, first of all, I would like to invite Mr. Narin. I stop sharing my screen now. Good afternoon, Mr. Narin. I introduce to the audience for your background. Mr. Narin Niruttinanon, he is currently General Manager of Thai Union as a manufacturing company limited, a subsidiary of the Thai Union Group Public Company Limited. He obtained a bachelor degree from Chulalongkorn University in Marine Engineering, and he has master degree in Business Administration from St. Louis University. He is the directing manager of the Persian tuna fishing fleet. I think he's the biggest fishing fleet of tuna percent in the ASEAN region, and he's general manager of the group of tuna procurement. Yes, I welcome to Mr. Narin to present us this afternoon, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I hope you all can hear me. Thank you to SEAFDEC to invite me to share my observations on the ongoing pandemic. I don't think anyone can say that they know exactly where this is going. We are all in an unknown territory, and we just want to make sure that we all do the best to get out of this. Right? So topic of discussion, I would share with you in 15 minutes the Thai tuna industry trend so far this year, and then we will talk about observations on the global tuna market as a result of the COVID-19. Then I will give you some samples of the situations affected the tuna supply chain around the world as a reference of what could have happened. So for Thai exports this year, the can and pouch tuna, the first line, you can see that this year, January to May, year on year over the same period from 2019, the Thai tuna industry exported out of Thailand with a total of 6% growth. Value is 5% growth. So the price that or the value of the products we export is roughly the same. So on one hand, I'm glad to see that we are strong enough to maintain our export business, but this is very, very difficult and a lot more challenges facing us for the rest of the year. This is just a graph of the pretty much the same information, but you can see the trend of 2018 and 2019 comparing to the red line, which is the first 5 months of 2020. So pretty much we are in line, not exactly that much more than what we have had before in both the quantity and the value of the product, right? In terms of the markets around the world, of the 6% growth, you can see that the US market this year we have had a healthy or an explosive growth over last year by 47%. The Middle East is 5%. Africa went down 11%. Australia, this is a surprise. It went down by 5%. Latin America went up 11%. Japan went up 15%. The EU went up for around 18%, and the other markets, small ones, went down by 20%. So of this, obviously, there has been a number of growth and also a number of retraction of demand. In terms of imported of raw material, as you know very well, Thailand doesn't have our own tuna resources. We import 100% of the tuna raw material. This year, in total, we have imported 31% below what we did last year for the same period. But this has nothing to do with the COVID-19. It has been about just the demand cycle, or not the demand cycle, sorry, the supply cycle, because since Q4 last year, the Pacific Ocean went into La Nina, and also that pushed the fish toward the Eastern Pacific. So catching in the Western Pacific in general has been poor. That was why the supply of tuna to Thailand has seen a drop. But I think after after this La Nina phase pass, then I expect the second of the year to come back to relatively normal. But in any case, the supply was low, but there was no shortage of raw material in Bangkok or in Thailand. Likewise, we have graph of trend from 2018 and 19 and the red line of 2020. So this year the supply so far has been poor, but I think for the whole year we should catch up without any problem. So the second topic that I want to discuss is the market trend, right? Actually, even if we all know that the pandemic started in China back in December, and we heard that something was going on since December, but no real effect of any kind to our production and export until February. In February, we started seeing countries by countries in the news that people had a panic buying or panic shopping trip to the supermarkets and empty a lot of shelves. Even if tuna did not make a headline just like some other items, but in many countries, canned tuna were sold very well, and it was short for a short period. That kind of situation forced the buyers to run around searching for products, right? And during February to mid-April, we found ourselves in a situation that there were pretty much very healthy demand from many countries all over the world. But at the same time, I need to say that this happened also in other parts of the world. For example, in Europe, right? Instead of buying from Bangkok or other countries in Asia, first they look into Spain, the biggest processing hub of tuna in Europe, and they pretty much book everything that the Spanish can produce. Then only after that, then they came out and book orders from outside, right? So the period of February to mid-April, we were in a situation that we maxed out our processing line and we try to meet the demands, not only about the quantity, the volume, it is also about the logistic. We need to try to push the products out as much as possible, as quickly as possible, right? But even with such a good sales, I want to emphasize that net increase is only marginally higher than what we have experienced in the past, because the increase was almost all in the retail sector. The food service all over the world went to zero. A lot of orders that have been pressed before the pandemic right now are being pushed for delivery in 2021. That is not abnormal because the customers then cannot sell through the normal sandwich shop in Europe or in America. So we were lucky that the retail sector could come in to carry us during the difficult time, right? Canned tuna in the cabinet. Okay, this is about consumers. The reason that they buy canned tuna is to feel safe, that they have some safety food stock at home. But after the fact, I think we all can notice that hardly anyone tap into that safety food stock at home, right? What they have this time, people, the consumers around the world have this time, unlike the other disaster we have faced before, is they have time, a lot of time at home. So what we found, or what the market report showed, was that in the US, for example, in March, canned tuna was the best selling item in retail supermarket. But then in April, canned tuna was still quite okay, but the best selling item was bakery products that people can buy and spend time to make at home. Then in May, after weeks of lockdowns, the best-selling item turned into hair care products, because they need to make sure that they don't have any gray hair, that kind of situation. So this is a clear sign that we are in a new situation, right? That consumers will be the one who dictate what they want to do with their time. Okay, after mid-April, the demand of tuna in the retail supermarket chains across the US came down. And also we see the same situation in Europe also. The consumer started to feel more comfortable with the situation. They started to learn how to live in the new normal, right? So what have happened since to the Thai tuna industry was that we have seen a lower demand from buyers across the world, right? In February or March, when they talk about an order, they talk about hundreds of containers. Come May, we are talking about 5 to 10 at a time. So nothing to compare to what we have seen the period before. So we are in a situation that the retail buyers, they need to make a guess of what will be the impact of countries around the world reopening up the economy. I'm pretty sure that this is not the end of the pandemic, right? Everyone knows that. So the thing is, we all need to guess of what will happen when countries open up, see second, third, fourth wave maybe, and then go down, close down again, and how that will impact the demand of canned tuna. That is one factor, but the second factor that I want to talk about is, this is more obvious. There will be a crisis, economic crisis across the world, and this one, it will impact the main street consumers, the low-income people, or the average families will find themselves in a situation that they have less disposable income. And I think this will be an advantageous factors to canned tuna. So even if the second half of 2020 is still pretty much unknown from the COVID-19 perspective, I anticipate that the canned tuna sales will be quite okay still. Finger crossed, of course, right? I think if we are to compare canned tuna and the other item of seafood, one thing that you probably feel is that I did not talk too much about the price because canned tuna is shelf stable and a good selling item already. People tend to be less sensitive to price of canned tuna because this is one of the cheapest protein source. But when you get into the other kind of frozen seafood, then price sensitivity will come in. And I think I will leave that to the other speaker. Some samples of what we have seen, the impact of COVID-19 to some of the tuna supply chains. In Ecuador, this is one of the first countries that got hit very hard, right? Over there, it started by one processing plant, a major one, found themselves in a situation that there was a widespreading of the COVID-19 in the factory, so they shut down, and the government forced every single processor to adopt the social distancing of workers in the workplace. And if you know tuna processing factories, you know that there is really not much we can do without affecting the throughput, right? So what happened was that they reduced, because of the less people in the factory, they reduced the processing tonnage to around, initially around 50, and they sustained at 65 for a period. Then they gradually improved to 80%, and right now they are doing 24 hours. This created an unexpected consequence, which was that the factory used less tuna, but the fishing fleet were catching actually very good, but at the very least they were catching normal effort, and they catch normal, and the fish came back to Ecuador and could not find any buyer, and cold storage were full. So that reduce or prolong the turnaround of the fishing fleet to go out again. But still, because there was no one to take the fish out of the vessels quick enough, the price of tuna in Ecuador went down quickly. It collapsed, right? At one point, the skipjack price in Bangkok was $1,500 per ton. Ecuador was $1,200, and it went down to the lowest $1,050, which was very low for the timing that we are in, right? Another sample is the Pacific Island countries in the Western Pacific. This one, actually, they did not see any case. Most of the countries in the Pacific did not see any case of COVID-19 because the countries decided that they want to lock down before they got any case, right? So they locked down, and they forced the vessels not to call port. No one can leave the vessels and go onshore. Every activities must be done outside of the port area. So that also slowed down the transshipment activities. Catching was poor enough, and with this, they need to stay in port for 1 or 2 weeks extra before they can go out again. It also impact the operation and consequently the supply to us in Thailand. The last samples that I want to share with you is Seychelles. Seychelles, of course, is the biggest tuna landing port in Indian Ocean. It's the home of the Spanish and the French fleets in Indian Ocean. Normally, these two countries, they work on 4 months on board the vessels and 4 months at home. But because of the lockdowns and cancellation of the commercial flights, then they cannot do the crew change, right? So they got they caught themselves in a situation that the crew needs to work on board for a long time, and it took until May that the Spanish and the French government helped to arrange a charter flights to do crew change, right? So they did it 1 or 2 times before last week. Last week, there was a plane carrying 207 seamen flew into Seychelles. 3 days before the flight, every one of the 207 crew were tested and there was no positive result. But once they land, they found that 9 people got COVID-19. Then they had no choice. The crew, they did the crew change anyway. The 207 crew went on board 27 vessels in the port, and all 27 vessels were quarantined. And the situation as of last week, and 70 people of the crew were tested positive for COVID-19. So right now, those vessels are still under quarantine in Seychelles, cannot go out. And the 27 vessels is around 60% of the total fishing effort in Indian Ocean. So we will see that a lot of supply disruption from this episode, right? Before I finish, likewise in Ivory Coast, just 1 day or 2 days ago, exactly because of the impossible the crew change situation, there was a strike of 2 Spanish fleets, and right now they need to call in police and all that to take care of the situation. So all in all, yeah, we have been very lucky in Thailand that we have seen no cases in any tuna processing plant, and I hope we stay that way, because if Thailand has any problem, any issue, then that will be a major disruption to the cans tuna supply to the world. Okay, that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Narin, for your very comprehensive and very detailed, but very good to hear that the demand of the canned tuna products are not likely down, but on the other hand, increasing in many places, including USA. Can I have a quick question to Narin? Whether do you see the trend from now? Because I am thinking after the relief or the better condition is coming soon, and is that you see the immediate trend is keeping increasing demand, and then the demand will be decreasing in immediate response to many places, as far as the condition is getting better in many places, except the USA.
Like what I said, everyone is guessing right now what will be the eventual result of the attempt to reopen the economy. My guess is we will see a mixed result. Some countries will be okay, some countries will not be okay, right? I consider the situation in China and in South Korea still quite manageable, and people can come back to their normal life. As such, those countries, I think the demand for canned tuna, I think we should go back to the normal situation, right? Like there will be a mix of sales in supermarkets, in retail supermarkets, and in the food service. So overall, I would guess that the demand will not increase, but it will not go to zero. It will maintain quite okay, and I'm betting more on the fact that people will find themselves to be in financial trouble. Families will need to save more. They cannot go out to eat in restaurants. They will need to stay at home and buy cheaper food. And canned tuna will serve that purpose quite well, as we have seen in many episodes in the past. Normally, when we see big crisis, canned tuna usually perform quite okay.
Yes, I think we can come back to Narin later on, but quick questions to Narin, just the last one. I saw from the question and answer panel, based on the supply distribution, how the company plan to recover the company supply stock later this year or next year? To Narin, please.
No, we are still in healthy inventory situation, even if the supply of fish has been quite poor, quite lower than what we have seen in the past, right? But if you check the inventory of tuna processing plants in Thailand, everyone are doing okay. So what we are waiting is for the La Nina to go away. Right now, I think it's more or less in the I don't know the technical term, in the normal stage, and there is a chance that it might go back to El Nino. If it is El Nino, then normally the fishing will be better, and I kind of expect the supply of tuna during the second half will be improved. Will be quite improved from before. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think we can come back in the last session where we have the open discussion for all speakers of today. Thank you for the time being, Narin. And we move to the next speaker of this afternoon. We will have Mr. Anucha Techanitisawad. He is the founder of the Andaman Surimi Industries Company Limited, Thailand, found in year 2000, and he was the vice president of the Thai Frozen Food Association in the year 2018, and also was the president of the Thai Surimi Industry Committee since 2015. He is very well known among surimi industries in the world. He spent almost, I think, 2 decades in his life involving in the business of the surimi products and industries. Please, Anucha, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, all participants. For the surimi industry in Thailand, I will touching on the 2 major products, surimi base and surimi products. For the surimi base, for the world production, supply into the market for 850,000 tons per year, and Thailand alone can produce 60,000. But and the major producing countries is USA, Thailand, India, Vietnam, and China. So for the surimi base, during the COVID pandemic period, the effect come into the surimi industry around late March, because the order for the surimi product and supply to the world market is still not so much affected in February, and the continuous order in March. But we have a really pinch in April, because a lot of countries already got affected and have a lot of lockdown. So the order for surimi products got affected in April. But for the Thai industry, the surimi industry, the fishing vessel and the surimi industry is still going on, has not stopped production. Therefore, we have to build up the stock for surimi, and this is a big problem for all manufacturers, because the consumption is getting less and less, and we have to keep our stock in the cold storage. And we were also in the panic, and there has been a lot of discussion among us that if we continue like this with the high production volumes, where are we going to keep our finished product FG, both the surimi base and surimi products? And we have surveyed all the cold storage, and at that time in March, April, there's not a lot of space for keeping the products. So this is much of our worry during that time. Besides that, for the export market has been very poor in April. Many order has been cancelled and delayed the shipment because the main market for Thailand is Korea, Japan for the surimi base, and for the surimi product, the main market is in the US and in Europe, and some of in Asia. For the surimi based product is have a long export delay, and for the surimi products, mostly our manufacturer export to US and EU, and mostly go into the food service sector. This is to the food service with the restaurant chain, and all the restaurants were locked down, and this is give us a lot of problem, and we cannot export. So, and it's also frozen food, you know. In US, mostly for the supermarkets still open. The main supply of a supermarket of this product mostly from the local company, and serve as chill product. So for the food service sector, is have a lot of effect, same as in the EU. So that's why the export side for the Thai product is very less, and has gone down to nearly 90%. 90%. This is a big portion. Come back to the domestic market for Thailand. Also, we were locked down, and only the supermarket and convenience store are open, and most restaurants are locked down. So that's why same with all other seafood business, we were about 35 to 40% reduction in sales. That's, and overall the industry, the sales dropped about 1/3, about 35% to 40%, and the export side also the same. But on export side for the food service, which manufacturer has a lot of food service sector will have a 90% drop in sales. So this is give us a lot of problem into the surimi industry. With the COVID situation, we are continuing. At this moment, we just got unlocked, and most countries are starting to unlock, and the trend is come back very slowly, and we expect in the next 6 months we'll recover slowly, and not I don't think that we go back to the same level as the beginning of the year. It will take times, and have to recover from the volume that we have done before. So it's not a good sign for us, and for everybody in this industry. And we hope that we will start again and going better for next year. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kun Anusha. I'm very sorry to hear that the business of the surimi is not that good. And we also hope that all recovery period will come very soon, even though the countries are now reopening the country because the economy is getting worse. And I think we hope that all business are getting better in the near future. Can I ask a quick question to Kun Anusha? Is that the main importing countries of the products from your business is what countries are the main importing countries in the world? USA also?
For the surimi based product, for the surimi base is mostly Japan and Korea. Japan and Korea. For the surimi product is US and EU.
Yes, okay, thank you. I think I have more clear picture. Japan and Korea is now getting better, I think, and US, I'm not sure. EU, nobody knows. I think good luck to you, and I hope also we get a better situation in the near future. Yes, can I move to, thank you for the time being. We can have the last round later on. We move to the last impact of the capture fisheries. We have Mr. Isara from SEAFDEC Training Department. He's a researcher and he's now head of the Research and Development Division of SEAFDEC Training Department stationed in Samut Prakan province in Thailand. He had the master degree in marine science with a minor field in fisheries management from the Faculty of Fisheries, Kasetsart University. His background is on fishing technology, and he recently studied on the impact of fishing on the ecosystem. He also served as the instructor for the training courses on the ecosystem approach to fisheries management of SEAFDEC Training Department. Yes, welcome, Mr. Isara.
May I present you the preliminary study on acute impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic to small-scale fisheries in Thailand. The study conducted by Training Department of SEAFDEC. This study is initiated by the message from our FAO colleagues asking the following question. What is the current situation of current status of the country in response to COVID-19? What are the impact of COVID-19 to small-scale fishing community in the aspect of fishing activity, trade, processing, consumption, gender, assistance to fishers, and fishery resource. The method to study COVID-19 impact, we use rural rapid appraisal by structured interview. There are 12 fishers, small-scale fisher, answer our question, and one fishery officer. These fishers and fishery officers cover 9 provinces of Thailand in Andaman Sea and in Gulf of Thailand. May I draw your attention before going to the result of our study. The timeline of COVID in Thailand, the important one is we starting to found one case, the first case in Thailand in January 12. After that, we found super spread in early of March, and in the end of March, government start to enforce with state of emergency, start to control the local transportation, and early of April, government start to control country, to lock down the country by using the curfew, by stop airport. And the assistance to the fisher and agriculture approved by the government in 28 April. Coming to the result of our study, the question from FAO, the first question is fishing activity. Can fisher go to sea? The answer is yes. Fisher can go to fishing. No significant impact. They can request for permission. They can go out in the before curfew and come back to the shore after curfew. But the problem is happen with the commercial fishing vessel that use foreign worker, foreign fishers, because in particular they use the daily boarding pass. When they go out from the country, they cannot come in according to the country lockdown. The second question is the trade. Market is open or not? And how about the logistics and transportation? The interview showed that middlemen have a problem with the travel restriction of the government at the early of the announcement. They cannot deliver the seafood to the wholesale market. Some of them stop their business, and then fisher cannot sell product to the middleman. Consequently, some fisher stop fishing. In some area, wholesale market are limited in operation hours, operation period, and also impact to the fishermen. Fisher solves the problem by apply the long online trade. By using younger member of the family, they can develop their online trade and e-commerce. Some of them try to send their fresh product, but the problem is they cannot deliver the product, the frozen product, outside the province area. We found that local market, wholesales, middleman, tourism are significant in trade of the marine product, seafood product. For the processing, If the fisherman can sell the fish, there is no problem. If they cannot sell the fish because of the price is low, they will change to make processing. And then seafood supply or material supply for processing will be enough for them. In some area, they have a problem on the shortage of material according to the fisher stop fishing. When fisher stop fishing, no material to processing factory or processing industry. Fishermen stop fishing because the middleman stop buying the fish from the fishers. With that, some fisher that who can catching, marketing, and processing can run on their business. They don't have any problem if they do the fishery industry. For the e-commerce mostly worked by young generation that I informed earlier. However, the e-commerce need to improve the quality of the product. And we found that some consumer want to know the origin of the product, so that in the future, the traceability for small scale need to improve. For the consumption, we found that some demand is decreased because of the restriction on the market. Period of the market reduced, difficult to travel to the market. And another problem of the consumer is behavior of the consumer. They prefer the food that can store for longer times, easy to cook, such as chicken, pork. And the third one is impact from the tourism industry that closed because country locked down. Hotels or restaurants cannot run the business, so that demand is reduced, and make the reduce to the aquaculture fish that support the tourist industry as well. Catch fish for aquaculture also decrease according to the the fish farm reduced according to no order from the tourists. However, the e-commerce could possible to enhance the access of demand of fish. More people apply using e-commerce to order the fish product, but still need to improve the product that I informed earlier. The online trade could introduce the new product also. That is the benefit of the use of the online. For the gender, major role of the woman in supply chain is the fish processing and trade. If no fish, if no material, meaning is women become jobless and lost income according to no material for processing. However, online trade facilitated by young generation can help support, and family business can be cope the pandemic, can be help family to get more income. And during the COVID-19, from the interview, we found that relationship among the family is become better because of they help each other to support working, to support to finding alternative income. And the question number 6 is the assistance that provide to the fish, to the farmer, to the small scale fisher. We can separate the result in two. The first one is food and daily subsistence good is provided by local government. Humanitarian foundation support it. In another way, government provide the support, financial support to the fishers, 5,000 baht per month. This is government announced to support approved by the cabinet in 28 April 2020 that I informed you during the timeline slide. The last question, fishery resort. How about the fishery resort in perspective of the fisher? Some of them think it's become worse, it's become poor, because the jobless come to the sea, engage with the fishing, more fisher. But another opinion is opposite. They think the resort should be recovered. It's because of less of commercial fishing boat, no fishing worker, and some small fishing vessel cannot operate because of lack of capital, lack of money to go to the sea. And some fisher provide idea that habitat may recover according to no tourism disturbed to do the habitat, in particular coral reef. May I conclude the impact and the response of the small-scale fisher by the animation. Fisher get the fish, they go to sell in local market and directly come to consumer, but they also have the problem with the control of the local market, control of the operation time of the market. And consumer behavior is a bit changed for easier storage. And stop tourism is very significant problem. They try to direct sales to the consumer. Direct sale means bring the cash to the house, knock, 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 and sell. Some of them use the middleman and file wholesale market stop and file middleman stop. They change to processing. When they send to processing, they process the cash and send to local market and send to consumer. Some of them apply online trade, direct to the consumer, that they respond to the COVID-19. And how SEAFDEC role? Our SEAFDEC strengthen and enhance well-being of the small-scale fisher through the international and regional reference, such as CCIF, such as guideline for small-scale fishery, resolution and plan of action. With that, we will come with the conducting R&D on fish handling techniques. We will apply the cold chain guideline to deal with the small-scale fisher and promote the appropriate technology to reduce manpower for fishing operation. However, we need to consider the result as well, not negative impact to the resource. And the last one should be the promote on the collection of the data collection and development database for small-scale fishery to support fishery management. And last slide, I would like to thank you our fisher colleagues to provide the information to us. Thank you, Mr. Omar Rico Penarubia, our colleague FAO HQ. Thank you for Director of Andaman Sea Fishery Research and Development Center Phuket, Mr. Suchat Sanchan. And the last, I would like to express our appreciation to Madam Secretary General and Chief of the Training Department of SEAFDEC, Madam Malini Smith-Rithi, for support the study. That's all I would like to present to you, and thank you very much. We welcome suggestion and comment from you. Thank you.
Webinar today afternoon. I saw one very interesting question, but Narin has already answered some of them. I think later on our discussion will be made at the final round. I think better to move to the next, the impact on the COVID-19 to the aquaculture sector. We have this afternoon Dr. Panitsuan Chumnanvech. He is currently the director of the Pack Food and the president of the Thai Frozen Food Association Thailand, a Vice Chairman of the National Strategy Committee on Fisheries and Downstream Industries, Vice Chairman of the NSC on the Labor and Skill Development, and President of Standard and Quality Association of Thailand, and many more. He also give a lecture as a professor in Sasin, graduated Institute of Business Administration as a permanent lecturer. Also the Chulalongkorn University lecturing students on this field. He is also a professor for Master of the Manufacturing Management at Chulalongkorn University, Warwick joint program, and the executive MBA 1995 to 2014 of the Faculty of Commerce and Accountancy and in Chulalongkorn University from year 1995 to now. I would like to welcome Dr. Panitsuan Chumnanvech for this afternoon presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the kind introduction. Some of those posts I relinquished quite a while ago. At the present, I'm still director at Pack Food, yes, and also the president. Now they call the president emeritus of the Thai Frozen Food Association. Okay, and very nice having all this audience and knowledgeable panelists to share their knowledge and experience. Let me start my presentation, and it is mostly centered on the shrimp. This is in the middle of it. Okay, let's now Thai shrimp industry. It's not just the aquaculture, but of course the Thai export, the shrimp export relied heavily on the aquaculture shrimp. And we are looking at the COVID effect. Okay, let me share my screen first. Okay, we practiced this yesterday. I'm not very good at it. Share screen. All right. Okay. Now, can you see the presentation at the moment? Hello?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet?
Yes, not yet.
Okay, let me go back then. Share screen has to be a green. Okay, share.
Okay, yes, we can see the movements.
And PowerPoint coming up. Alrighty.
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Okay. This is just the formality, the introduction. Okay, this is what we are looking at when we say, okay, in February, the China closed. Maybe they say just quarantine or close down Wuhan, but they also stop all incoming, outgoing traffic. This has the biggest, or the one that make a big news in Thailand was that is a disruption of the live shrimp to China. Okay, you know, we are in a very unique position that we can export this type of shrimp, although it's not a very big volume because they started with the black tiger especially, and black tiger all told amount to about 5% of our shrimp production. So even if they sell all the black tiger as live shrimp to China, it will amount to about not more than 5%. So altogether, the live shrimp export to China, which relied on air freight, would be let's say less than 3% of all the shrimp that we produce. Now, in other consumption, the domestic consumption dropped sharply because of lack of tourists. the Chinese tourists is the biggest group coming to Thailand and actually to many other countries. So with the shutdown, we cannot export live shrimp, and the demand for domestic consumption that cater to specifically to the tourists also went down. The volume, as I stated, is not that much, because even though with all the tourists, the domestic consumption for shrimp in Thailand will still be less than 20% of total that we can produce. But it has some effect on the psychological and also on the price. When the price goes down, then I think the farmers are not very happy and they get nervous, and then they would affect their stocking or their mentality for the next crop. Okay. After that, we enter the second stage, which is the lockdown and the curfew. Okay. When the lockdown in Thailand started, we had some problem with the harvesting. Now, the pattern in our shrimp harvesting from the pond into the processing plant, especially, we start as early as 2 in the morning or even midnight at 2 in the morning, and then they will get to the auction market at 4 or 5. By 6, 7 o'clock, it's all in the factory. Sometimes you want to see the action, you have to be waiting at the auction market as early as 4:30 or 5 o'clock. But when the curfew started, then now the processing plant are getting panic, and they said, if the shrimp cannot come to us, how do we do all this processing? So after a few weeks, then we had some guideline or some exception from the Thai government that say certain activities is allowed. You have to carry clear identification, and when you get to the control point, you have to be able to demonstrate what are you carrying, what are you doing. And that's another thing that affect when we have that lockdown and curfew things. So was the transportation of fry. When the fry cannot get to the pond, they cannot stock. So that's another thing that we had to work. It takes about a month before the fry were being sent out again. And by that time, the farmer was they pulled back a little bit. They're not doing the normal stocking pattern that they used to be. So we are expecting, after, usually it will take about 2 to 2.5 months before a new crop would come out. So we are looking at the effect right about now. Okay. After those, we enter all these full-scale global pandemic, and with this, I think the shipping people has this fancy word called what's a hotel, restaurant, catering sector here. Hotel, restaurant, catering, and usually we just call it food service. I think Anucha said it, when your customer are in this hotel, restaurant, catering sector, the sales are down by about 90%. In the shrimp sector, the Thai shrimp, we split about 60% to the retail market or supermarket, with fancy packaging and things. And about 40% of our export go to the hotel, restaurant, and catering. So we are not that bad off, but still, yeah, things went down a little bit. That is one thing. The second one is the freight cost. Now, because of the reduced traffic, you ship less, the shipping people assign less number of cargoes to you or containers to you. And also because there is not the same traffic it used to be, the freight costs increase a little bit. It's not to the point where it's totally disrupted, but we can feel it. And let's say we're not going to make as the regular profit that we used to. Now, the third thing we'd like to mention would be the stricter control at destination port. Of course, you know all these quarantine things. There are papers that is more strict. There are more tests, more control. There's some change in, for example, even in the further processed items to EU, they try to minimize the paper, and they try to do all this online and digital document, which at first caused some, I would say, minor confusion whether they want to go with the new or the old style, or who can do this and that and those. But eventually, yes, we got past that and got standardized. But lucky or not, the one that caused this documentation, electronic and things are basically the European market. And European market, let me just say that all told, once you remove the United Kingdom from the EU, the rest of EU buy less than 1.5% of Thai shrimp. So our shrimp basically doesn't go to EU anymore, or a very little. I just hope we can sell to them more. Now, let's look at the normal supply chain that we have, and this include the capture as well as the culture. We have the incoming fish, okay? And we have the coding system provided by the Department of Fisheries, very strict. All the papers accompanying with it goes into cold storage, goes into our processing plant. I'm gonna talk more about on the processing plant in a little bit. And all this has to be traceable. And then we go into export. And all those export paper and things need all kind of papers. You know, those especially in the surimi business can tell you that if you have many boats providing the fish for one container of surimi, then you have many pieces of paper for one shipment of surimi. You know, but if you have a big boat catching all the fish that can fill one container, that's a little bit easier. Okay. Okay, this is the number. Let me see the last line. Okay, this is the number that we I can see myself. The number that we collected from 2017 until 2019, and then 2020. It's only 5 months here. It's 5 months of 2020. You can see that these numbers without the COVID, we are already going down. And when this year, when the COVID hit, we don't go down that much in the first 5 months, only 2% compared to last year. One reason for that was someone already mentioned it, that because of the panic buying before, or they were so afraid that something gonna happen that they cannot buy. So they kind of semi-stock up a little bit. That is in the weight, in tons. And then the value, even if I dig up the number and put the number here, it was down from 2016 already. So we're in a steady decline, going down a little bit. And this year, it went down less than last year, but still down. The last line here would be the unit price. Now these are in baht. This baht per kg. This is basically processed shrimp, which is like 63% yield from the head-on catcher from the pond. The unit price also declined. In this year, 5%, 7%, 6% in baht term. Someone can show me or can show you, tell that in the world market, it doesn't go down this hard, or it doesn't go down this much. It might go down in 2 to 3%, but the reason it show up at 5, 6, 7% here is because of the strong baht that complicate the matter for us. Okay. Now, after this, no, I don't want to put this. Oh, okay. To cope with all this, we need the consumer confidence. Look at, okay, that's right. We have to win back the confidence because of the COVID pandemic that's going around and around. And we trying to do that by, after some brainstorming, we come up with something we call the COVID prevention program or COVID prevention measures. Now, this would be a voluntary enrollment. Those who want to enroll in this program, we have a checklist of activities that they have to perform within their processing plant. Now, outside of the processing plant, you've seen that we have a very, very strict control that actually is the byproduct of the IUU that we faced, and also the labor problem that we used to have. Now, this is additional to all those measures that we had before. So we have voluntary enrollment for those who want to demonstrate that they have exercised everything in their power to prevent the COVID from their factory, to enter their factory. And until now, I'm so have my finger crossed to that we do not have in any of our big factory that have someone contaminate or contracted COVID. It's a voluntary enrollment. You have a checklist of things you have to do, and then you'll be audited and certified by the DOF, and also maybe some health authority will help on that. With that, we just hope that it will ease the concern on the consumer side. So this CPP, the COVID prevention program, would be in additional to our GMP, our HACCP that we used to, or we already have in our factory. You can see that we also have all kind of private label, the MSC certification here, this is MSC here, and this is the base aquaculture practice. Okay, how many stars, all those, the ASC aquaculture certification program. I don't know if this is good or bad, but I think it just shows our commitment that we try to do our best. Okay, and you can check. Food is something that you cannot do 100% inspection on, because if you do that, you're not gonna have anything left to eat. So it has to be some prevention program like this that we try to come up with. And this is where we are going. Here we are not staying with just shrimp all the time or shrimp only in our product. This is our the diversity in our members they are producing. Well, this one is not that much of an import, but it's an attractive seafood item. So the Thai processor will go further and further away from the bulk pack raw material that goes into the food service sector. We'll be more retail, and we go more into consumer ready or retail package ready. And that is our strong point. We have all these support facility for the factory at the moment. And as for someone stating, yes, we have some members that also start the domestic delivery, or it used to be modern trade and things like that, and now they do all home delivery of that product. And with not even one exception, they would just say export quality, as if anything good has to be exported. But now everybody has the same standard or same quality, whether it'll be in the country, tourist, domestic, homeowner. At the moment, everybody is the same. You get the same quality that we can produce, the best that we can do in our factory. So I would just hope, if there is any good thing coming out from this COVID things, is that we get to enjoy high quality food without having to go out in the trouble of going here and there and park our car and stuff like that. So it's not all bad. Although maybe the Thai shrimp aquaculture would go down further a little bit, but at last check, shrimp is still accounting for about 60% of the income of our members. Yeah, shrimp would be about 60%. and fish and surimi 25. Okay, and then the last part would be the cephalopod or squid would be 15. So it's a 60, 15, 25. That's quite simple to remember. It used to be 66, 67%, but at the moment, even with the reduced volume of the shrimp that we can produce, still the money is earning is almost 2/3 of all the seafood, the big 3 items that we sell. So we just hope that the farmers would not lose heart, and if the price go up, go down, that's nature. If we can keep producing a high quality shrimp, then we should be doing okay. So thank you very much for SEAFDEC and all these colleagues that we get to share the information with you. And I'll stay with the panel to answer questions that you might have. And I'll stop sharing at the moment. The file is sent to a SEAFDEC, so if you want to have that file, no problem. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Panitsuan, for very comprehensive and very detailed. I think we have very good knowledge and how the seafood market in terms of the shrimp, as ASEAN, a number of countries in ASEAN region has produced a lot of the shrimp products and exporting to the world market. So far, I think we can have a question answer later on in the last session. I think we can do it afterward. I think now I would like to move forward to Ms. Lan. We have I think biggest exporter or the company exporting the Pangasius to the world market. Madam Tu Chong Lan, sorry if I pronounce your name not correctly. She is the Deputy General Secretary of Vietnam Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers, the biggest in the world, I think. Her responsibilities with the VASEP include the promotion and marketing planning for VASEP, and it's a member for exporting activities of the company. Mainly the Pangasius she's responsible for. And we will hear from her presentation this afternoon on the impact of the pandemic of the virus for the Pangasius business. The floor is yours, Madam. Please unmute your microphone. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, the organizer, for inviting us to join this forum to share an update of Pangasius sector in particularly, and the fishery in general, and how the impact of COVID-19 of the industry of Pangasius from Vietnam. Can you see the slide?
The direction of the slide is vertical.
To introduce about the Pangasius export to can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see the slide, but it should be in a vertical direction. Can you?
Okay, yes,
okay,
yes.
Okay, this way. Okay, this way.
Yes. Yeah. First of all, I would like to introduce about the Pangasius industry in 2019. As you may know, that Pangasius is one of the most important fishery products in seafood export from Vietnam, with the turnover around $2 billion USD annually, that account for 23% of seafood export value from Vietnam. And until now, Vietnam exported to 131 countries in the world, in which our key markets, including the largest is China with 33% market share in value. The second is the US with 14% market share, and the European and Asian is 12 respectively. So as the other seafood sector, Pangasius export has heavily impacted by the pandemic. We have a look at our major markets in the performance of 2020. You can see a big drop in most of the market. The total value drop is 30% in 5 months. And the biggest market in China has dropped is 17%, and the US is 23%, Asian 30%, European Union 36%, and the other country in the same situation. And this is the exporting Pangasius to China. This four can be reflected clearly when the and in interruption in exploration, logistics, the shortage of workers because the lockdown, and a big drop in food service sector like hotel, restaurant, catering, school, where is the key consumption segment of Pangasius products. Moreover, the business via the border was also locked by the two countries, also made the business of the small companies worse. However, the retail sale was still opened with a small quantity in this period and still keep quite stable and slightly developed until now. So we move to the US market. On the beginning of November last year, USDA did determine Vietnam's siluriform fish inspection system is equivalent to the system that the United States is established under the Federal Meat Inspection Act and is implementing regulations. Accordingly, siluriform fish almost Pangasius from the certified establishment eligible to export to the US. Together with Vietnam, we have Thailand and China. I think this is a very good news for this country after the siluriform fish inspection program was enforced from the beginning of September 2017. So when the China was still in Corona break and locked down strictly, we still hope that the US could be avoid the pandemic in some ways. But what is happening now, they are unpredictable. In reality, the exporting to the US in February and March still stable. But since April and May, we could see a decrease very clearly by the back impact of pandemic in this country. And at the second biggest market, but unlike China, only a few companies are allowed to the US, but the turnover is always higher and quite stable, and with the good price of the US market compared to the others. So in this market will directly affect the total decline of the whole industry this year. We have a look at the European Union market. We can see the tendency of the decreased consumption could be seen in the late private years. So when Europe was not hit by the pandemic, the situation, the Pangasius demand at EU was still low. The pandemic and the lockdown in Europe made the situation worse. The significant impact could be seen in April and May when the lockdown was happening in the whole Europe. We can see the key countries import banga and do trade within Europe, like the Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, drops significant 30% in 5 months of 2020. Currently, the situation has been better when the lockdown has been lifted from country to country in Europe, but the Pangasius trade in Europe is still very dumpy. I'm sorry. And here's the 4 biggest market in Asian. Asian is the 4 biggest importing market of Pangasius in the last few years. The statistic in the bar on the above reflect the continuing decrease from the beginning of the year to now. The tourism in Thailand, Malaysia has been heavily impacted by COVID-19 is the main reason for this downtrend in Pangasius consumption. Meanwhile, Singapore has increased import food for its nation demand. And in pandemic, so we can see the importing fish slightly increase in April and May from Singapore. So I would like to move to some market prediction. I think it's very hard to make any prediction when the pandemic still happen complicatedly from country to country all over the world. And the new wave of coronavirus outbreak, like in Beijing last month, highly warned us about the emergency status could return whenever in the affected countries, and the uncertainty of the pandemic control in the world, at least until this world. This is a very challenging time for all of us, but it's getting harder and harder for the small and medium enterprises who are the most vulnerable. And as I mentioned before about the dependent China market of many exporters could lead to the risk in the coming time, and the China market has not fully recovered. The capability to recover Pangasius industry depend on the recovery of China. Another signal we can see is the export price is maintaining at the low level compared to the previous year at all markets. Moreover, the dramatic drop in byproducts relating the very quick demand from China market for this type of product. Also the reason of the margin of Pangasius exporters smaller than ever before. We cannot say when the pandemic ends, and it seems that we have to live together with it, but we need to do our best and look forward to the brighter future. And here we see some positive signal with the industry that the higher demand at the end, at the 3 and the 4 quarter of the year, when they recover in some country in Europe and some states in the US have reopened, and as usual, the increase in demand for the seasonal holidays. And another is the Pangasius farming in Vietnam still stable. No disruption in Pangasius production on the production chain. Unfortunately, Vietnam was not spending a long time for lockdown in the last few months. In the first peak of pandemic, we were applied the social distancing in the end of March to the middle of April. And the processing plant has operated during the time before there is no disruption in production chain. And we also see the food services were opening more in the coming time when the people know how to live with the coronavirus. And the restaurant, the tourism are opening partly depend on the country status. So I I start my presentation here, and I wish you all keep safe and healthy. Thank you very much. And if you may have any question, I'm willing to answer you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Lan. I think we have a similar story from the Pangasius and the surimi products and surimi base, because those are not the ready to eat kind of food, and we have, I think, heard a very sorry story for the Pangasius business, and also similar to that of the surimi. Can we come back to the question answer later on, and can we move a bit forward to the last but not least, our speaker, Mr. Bundit. Mr. Bundit Kullavanijaya, he is the currently chief of the Vessel Monitoring System Group, Fishing and Fleets Management of the Department of Fisheries of Thailand since 2015, and he's the one in the team of Department of Fisheries working very hard, lifting the yellow card from EU. After the Royal Thai government introduced and installed a VMS tracking system of all the Thai flag domestic vessels, more than 30 ton gross, he's working very hard with the unit, and keep monitoring the activities of commercial fishing vessel at sea in his office. I would like to hear Mr. Bundit from where he is. The floor is yours. Yes, Mr. Bundit, please.
Thank you very much, moderator Dr. Walawit, for introducing me. Good afternoon, everyone who joined this webinar. First of all, I would like, on behalf of the Department of Fisheries, I would like to thank SEAFDEC that invite the Department of Fisheries to participate in this meeting. I will present another side of view from the government side that that have duty for control and law enforcement to ensure that the fishermen still comply with the law under the situation of COVID-19. At all, to confirm that fish raw material from the IUU fishing not come into the seafood supply chain. Today I will present 3 topics about the first. I will talk about the impact of the COVID-19. The second one is how we adapt a way to working under this situation, and the third one, mitigation. For the first one, the impact of the COVID-19 on the MCS. Because of the impact of the COVID-19 on the fishery, we starting it can say that it affect for the people on the living, especially on the living of the fishermen. Also, the government curfew declaration has make people to difficulty to travel, especially at night. And the last one, some province, especially for example, Prachuap Khiri Khan, Chumphon, Songkhla, and Phuket, they have a province announcement that that not allow for cross province. So that have the problem for the fishermen when they port out from one province, they cannot port in to the 4 province that I mentioned. Okay, before I go in detail, I will explain a little bit about the source of raw material. As we know that there are two main sources of the raw material can come to the seafood supply chain. One is from aquaculture. The second one is from the wild capture. In this presentation, I will emphasize on the wild capture, which came from two sources as well. One is from the Thai fishing vessel, Thai flag fishing vessel, and another one is from the foreign flag vessel. From the Thai flag fishing vessel, by the law that Dr. Walawit is explain a little bit that by the law, fishing vessel size 30 gross tonnage and above and over that have to install the one equipment that for monitor big so-called VMS vessel monitoring system. That also we Department of Fishery we set up the center we call Fishery Monitoring Center to monitor that group of vessel when they go to fishing through the VMS. And also we have a measure for inspect the vessel before they go to fishing and after they go back from the fishing ground. We call port in port out center to check that group of vessel. Also the foreigner fact we set up the team we call port state measure team that to ensure that the fish from the foreigner fact from import to Thailand is non-IUU fishing. I will explain one by one sector that how we change the way to working under the COVID-19 situation. From the first one, Fishery Monitoring Center or FMC. This center, as I mentioned earlier, that we monitor the vessel through the VMS that transmit, send information every 1 hour. And this center, we work 24/7. And we have a ship to rotate, work 24/7. And normally, this electronic system or VMS, we can access through the internet base. That is can make us easier that we can monitor it from the from home and access to the internet base. So we at that period of time we reduce the number of staff to work at the center. We remain only 20% of them to work, and after they work at home and they communicate and share the information under the cloud of the server. And also we have the way to check their working for the check-in and check-out by through the line application 24/7. That is the way that we adjust to apply for still same to keep the same standard, but follow the social distancing policy. The second one, port in and port out, or the PIPO control, that normally we control by checking the vessel before they going out to the sea and after they come back from the fishing ground. Normally we inspect we have a risk assessment system to pick up the risky one of vessel to inspect. We cannot, for sure, we cannot inspect all of them because of by 1 year almost for 300,000 trips that go out and in. Impossible to inspect every trip. So for the PIPO team, we adapt for change the way to working that we have three ways of working. One is the same previous SOP standard of our procedure. The second one, we try to reduce the number of inspectors. Normally, we have a intricate agency, the represent from each agency who work together, integrated to be the integrated team for inspect the vessel, go out and in. And in this situation, we reduced. We have only 2 persons from the Department of Fisheries to represent the inspection team. And they can communicate with the big team with the social communication online. And the third way, we inspect by video conference. It's like we call video call to the master of the vessel and let them show the screen, allow the vessel and have some question. We can answer question and answer at the video conference. It's like a live video inspection. And the fourth way that we work is we have a inspect by let the master take a picture and send back to our team to inspect. This is the way to change to apply for this situation. One is the same previous SOP, and the second one we try to reduce the number for keep distance, and the third we use a live video for check for inspect, and the last one we use the application for check by the picture. I will emphasize that the picture that have the time and local stamp that can check that this picture is not fake. Okay. This is the picture that we inspect the vessel, and you can see on the light up picture. You can see the master or the person at the port can show the picture and communicate with our inspection team at the office. Okay, the next section is for the port state measure or PSM that we inspect the foreigner vessel that bring the fish import to Thailand. This measure we comply with the PSMA, port state measure agreement. Before the vessel come to the port, they have to submit we call the advance request entry to port document, and this way they submit by the electronic way by the application. Is not have the effect for the not problem with the COVID-19 situation. So we also reduce the number of the team for the RF. They can easy way for them to work at home. And for the inspection vessel at port of the foreign vessel, we will divide for two groups of them. One is the suspicious vessel. Another is a normal vessel, not non-suspicious. If they're suspicious, we will onboard inspection, and same as the PIPO team, we reduce the number of the staff to inspect. But for the normal vessel, we not checking on board. We request a document for checking and cross-checking. That is the way that we change. And the last topic that I talk about, the mitigation of the impact. The first one, because of during the curfew, the government have the curfew for prohibit the people to go outside the home at night time from 10 p.m. until the 4 a.m. So that affect with some carrier. But anyway, the regulation can exempt some occupation. For example, the fisherman, this was exemption, and also rubber tapping, they had exemption. So not affect with them to go to fishing, even they can travel at night. The second one of mitigation, the DOF has issued the Department of Fisheries notification for allow to extend the sea book until the November of the 2020 to mitigate inconvenient situation from the COVID-19 for the foreign worker who work as the crew. Because of in this topic, normally every crew have to renew their registration every 31st of March. But in this situation, they have some problem. If they go back to the country, they cannot come back again because it is lockdown of the country. So we allow to extend the sea book until almost the end of this year. That is for mitigate them the owner of the vessel that to solve the problem lack of the worker at the vessel on the vessel. Another mitigation is a DOF support for the registration farmer who is the fisherman, that lead to the fisherman have the right to get the 5,000 baht a month for 3 months from the government. This is we try to help them to register. Okay, and the last one that DOF has helped to find the seafood distribution channel as much as we can. For example, we create the online market for them to sell the seafood market, seafood product. I'm sorry. And another one, we set up the point distribution product at the Department of Fisheries main office and also at the local office to sell the farmer or the fisher to sell their catch, their product. This is a way that the Department of Fisheries can help or try to help the fishermen. Okay, this is all that I speak from the impact for the how we change the way to working under the situation of COVID-19, and the last one, mitigation from the Department of Fisheries. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Kun Bundit. I think a quick question to you. I think a number of people would like to know, is there any changes in terms of fishing activity of the commercial fishing vessel after before COVID and during COVID, based on your VMS?
Okay, based on the VMS system and also based on the statistic of the port out and port in from the pipeline, I can say that is not change. The number from the March, April, and May last year and compare this year is decreased very a little bit, about the -2%. I can say that is not change. Okay.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I think I have three questions related to the safety of the food in terms of the contamination of the virus COVID into the products. And there is one comment mentioning that there are increasing number of laboratories sampling the seafood products in order to check the contamination of the virus COVID. And also in connection with the issues that raised by Dr. Panitsuan, is that the future having the COVID prevention program or prevention scheme for seafood fish products. I would like to ask all of presenter from the private sector, maybe starting from our first speaker of today, Mr. Narin. I think he has not much worry because his product is ready to eat products. But however, I would like to hear from all speakers from the private sector. What do you think if in the near future, if the scheme to have one more standard, market standard on COVID prevention program, in addition to the current standard of your products exporting? What do you think? And what is your idea about this? Maybe Dr. Kun Narin, are you still here?
Yes. Yes, as you mentioned, tuna, most of the products are shelf stable, and it passed through a retort process, which at that point, I'm pretty sure no more virus in the products, right? So if we are talking about exclusively about the COVID-19 for canned tuna, I assume that we are talking about the residue virus on the surface of the products from the point of the factory to along the supply chain to the consumer. in that one, I think it is very difficult for us to have a control over, and considering the time it takes to get from one point to the other, I cannot really imagine that any virus will survive that long. But in any case, if the question is, should we have a standard, then I assume that it is more on what if there is a infected workers in the factory, then what will happen to the work area, to the other workers, and to the products in the plant at that moment. And sure, I think it will be pretty standard of the surface, all the surfaces will be clean, but how long and with what, then we can always discuss. Yeah, I hope that illustrates my view on this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Narin. And can I move to Mr. Anucha? What is your idea if that's going to be one of the additional standard in the future? I don't know whether if.
Yeah, whatever the procedure for the COVID prevention, we can follow. I think because mostly for the raw material is coming from sea and landed and carry on to the factory. So the most worry we have is on our workers to handle the GMP and how to clean the equipment, machines. So and after that, after processing, is all frozen and keep in storage, and then proceed to the surimi product factory. Need to be cooked and steamed and fry and refrozen again and packaged in and being packaging. So yeah, whatever it is, we can follow the new procedure, and I think it's not a big worry for us. Yeah, and I think it's very safe for the consumer. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Anucha. I'm very happy to hear that it's safe for us to consume, even we have difficulty in having this period. How about Dr. Panitsuan? Do you have any additional idea how if the COVID-19 prevention scheme or program will be the one who raised this issue?
Yes, actually, it's not me who raised this issue. We were discussing among our members and also some of the government officials that say, because let's just put it this way: Thailand, because of the lockdown and all these things, we have done a lot of work and we gained some credibility in the prevention of the virus. So we were checking whether, or there are some customers that say, can you issue a COVID-free certificate? And after discussion with the health official, they say, just like Narin said, we cannot issue a COVID-free certificate because it would just say it was free when it left our factory. It has to go through all kind of shipment and movement and touch and whatever. So we after discussion of that, we also checked with the FAO, or that they say instead or in addition to the GMP program, the good manufacturing, they are trying to come up with a GHP program, the good hygienic program. But actually the GHP is a diluted version of the GMP. It's not a more restrictive. Let's say it was designed for smaller operators to be able to, let's say, go into semi-GMP and HACCP, and the relaxation is not in the practice. The most of relaxation is in the paperwork and things like that. So if we say we standardize our COVID prevention program, it would just say, let's see, what are we checking at the moment? Do we check the temperature of everybody passing through our door? Do we watch not just what we used to watch, but be more restrictive or check? Do we have alcohol or gel how many points. It's just like when you have the HACCP and the program, you check how many points you have for the fire trap and things like that. So we have the sanitized station, and then just like you think about elevator, when was the last time you checked for the safety of your equipment? So with the COVID prevention program, if voluntary is not a mandatory, and if it is successful, that we can say, okay, this is not mandatory, but if you are willing, and if it does create consumer confidence, then I would say it's not much more than what we have been doing. You know, you very, very thoroughly in keeping the hygienic condition of your workers and your equipment. You have the health check and all those things. So this just make sure that maybe you check it on a more regular basis and have additional equipment or additional station ready to help with the cleaning of your facilities and your workers and your equipment. You know, we can say, you know, take an example from China that said one of the fresh wet market got contaminated and nobody knows where it come from. It can come from the knife, it can come from the fishes, it can come from the wind or anything, but then it landed on that particular unit, and it did big damage compared to, you know, all these little creature things. So what we are trying to do is voluntary and very standardized, not much more than what we are doing at the moment. Even people outside of the factory, they wear face masks, they wear face shield. In the factory, we used to wear gloves, boots, and things. Okay, what's the additional prevention that we can do without hampering the effectiveness or endangering our workers, you know, cumbersome, get in their way, all those stuff. So if it builds consumer confidence, then I think it's, we should try. Starting from the one whose job are not that difficult to comply, then it will gain, you know, if it is effective, then we can see that it's good for everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Panitsuan, for your answer. Madam Lan, do you with us still? What do you think if COVID prevention program is coming in and I think you are selling the products not ready, not cooked, uncooked products from Pangasius? What do you think if this scheme implemented in the near future for your business? Yeah, please unmute your microphone. Sorry.
As you know that we, during the pandemic, we have exported our product to the world. And to do that, we follow a very strict procedure of the chain. We have to increase the new expenses to maintain the health services for the safety of the workers, for the facility, and so on. And for the market, like European market and the US market, we strictly follow the inspection programs, like the inspection program of seafood silvery farm fish to the US market. And I also think that it's very hard to say where the risks come from with coronavirus. So I'm not very sure that it's the mandatory certificates for checking that virus, or that's one more at the additional condition for the shipment after to check about the COVID, to check about the coronavirus. But I think the industry, because we are the farm raised products, and we can control for the whole chain, from the fingerling, the feed, to processing plants and the final products. And I think it's very strict procedure now for an export Pangasius products?
Yes, thank you, Madam Lan. Thank you for all speakers for answers the question. I think we cannot answer all the questions that we have from the audience, but last but not least, I would like to give one more round to our speaker if you have any additional take-home message to our almost 200 attendees to this webinar. I think we come to the last round. Maybe we start from Mr. Narin. If you have any message to all audience.
Thank you. I don't really have much to share anymore from my presentation. Like what I said, I think this is all new. People are trying to see the changing dynamic of government policies and changing behavior of consumers, how these two will affect the future of our businesses. Thai Union, even if I'm from Tuna, Thai Union has the other kind of seafoods, and I can appreciate that not all seafoods are having such a good time like tuna. Oh, some are in deep trouble. And even in the tuna sector itself, like yellowfin, which normally is a premium, high value fish, right? Right now, we are seeing the historical record of the price. It came down quite a bit for the sashimi grade yellowfin. We have never seen before. So all of these are playing into the how we need to cope with the business. So I don't have much more, and I can only wish everyone to stay safe and good luck with your businesses. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kun Narin. And next, I would like to invite Kun Anucha to say last statement.
Yes, we hope the market will pick up in the next 6 months, and most of the restaurants are open, and for the export market is picking up, and yeah, everybody will focus on the lower price product, and we hope the lower price product will increase, and then for the sumi industry will eventually come back to normal within 1 year, I hope. Yeah, that's what we hope, and we would like all the seafood business to survive. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kun Anucha, for your statement. And next, our speaker, Dr. Panitsuan, you have any?
Okay. I'd like to thank you again, all the audience and the organizer, for this chance to express our view. I believe, I'm speaking here in Thailand and with all this Southeast Asia surrounding us. We are the food market of the world. You can call it the food valley or whatever you call it. When you think about the population around, we have China, we have Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam with big population. Still, as a region, the Southeast Asia has plenty of food to export. Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia combined. I don't know the numbers, but just these 3 countries, I would say seafood alone. Okay, tuna, we didn't catch them ourselves, but the 2 biggest ones happen to be in Thailand also. So you put shrimp, Pangasius, and tuna, these big 3 items is here, is ours. And we should be proud that we keep all these standards very, very high. And this virus is not going to do anything to reduce our standard. It just make us be more careful with what we are doing, especially in treating our workers and our equipment and our surrounding. Keep it top tier, and we continue to grow. It doesn't matter whether the COVID is gone or it's with us, we will survive. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Panitsuan. And next, Madam Lan, you have any take-home message on your business? Sorry, microphone.
Yeah, we see the changing. We see the after COVID-19, the changing in the customer behavior, the changing of the way to do business, and we see that the big gap in our industry. We see the big gap between the small and medium enterprises and the big enterprises. Because in the decrease of the whole sector, we see there are some enterprises find their own way to survive and develop in the crisis. That they are the company have the good strategy from export to market to the fish production to adapt and flexible with the changes from outside. And we see the demand still there in the world, and we believe that we will be recovered in the future, maybe next year. We hope that. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Madam Lan. I think everyone will recover tomorrow, but it's not the reality. I think next I would like to hear our colleague from SEAFDEC Training Department, Mr. Isara. You have a nice. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Rohit. I think for small-scale fishery, we have a guideline, and in that guideline, there are some information that can build resilience of the small-scale fisher. We better back to study on this guideline from FAO, voluntary guideline, and study on other reference such as resolution and plan of action that I informed you in the last slide, and develop some activity in support to sustain our small-scale fisher. That is my work. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Kunisala. And last but not least, Mr. Bundit, I think you have very difficulties in monitoring, control, surveillance in your office. And you have any last word to the audience and our panelists?
Okay, thank you. Even now we have to come back for the normal process of working. But anyway, if the situation was, we needed to come back to change our way to keep the level of our standard once again. And anyway, Department of Fisheries try to do our best to ensure that the fish from the IUU fishing not come to the seafood supply chain. And last, I would like to thank SEAFDEC once again and all the audience that today, and also from the everybody that joined this webinar. I say thank you once again.
Yes, thank you, Kun Bundit. And on behalf of Madam Secretary General SEAFDEC, Ms. Malini Samitriti, I would like to thank all of the very valuable resource person speakers of this webinar. Thank you to all of you, and thank you also to the audience and the attendees who are participating into the webinar. I think you keep your eyes on our website. SEAFDEC will provide you the record of the video clip we did in this afternoon and yesterday on our website. and see you again in the near future. I hope you enjoy our webinar today and yesterday. And good luck to everyone. Be safe, and then see you someday. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.